right, I want to welcome you back to Module 4 of Elite Personal Training and Fitness Solutions video series on nutrition, sustainable nutrition, making sense of nutrition madness. Hopefully you already see that you're beginning to have some clarity of how crazy it is out there, but that you realize that we are providing you a source that is really coming from an expertise with significant academic background, clinical experience, and that we are not selling you. The things that we are telling you are unbiased, they're scientifically accurate, they're clinically tested, it's being passionately taught. We have no financial connection with anyone. There is no boss telling me what to do or not to do. The things that you're getting in this series are because we believe wholeheartedly this is what works. It's actually scientifically accurate. It's based on science that is available to us, and when not, we use our clinical experience and judgment to give you information to actually package what will succeed. So we are on the fourth module, which is gut health. And by gut health, I'm not talking about having a big fat gut. Rather, we're talking about what takes place inside your gut. So that, to clarify, your gut is your stomach, your small intestine, and then your large intestine, which is sometimes your colon. And I'm going to say that gut health is the key to your overall health. Now, I realize that in the first session, it might sound a bit contradictory, where I said there is no smoking gun, there is no holy grail, there is no one thing. There's just pieces of the puzzle. But within the jigsaw puzzle of the pieces, not all pieces are equally important. And there is no more important piece than gut health. And the reason why it's the key to your health, it's really not just one piece, it's a lot of pieces. So if there is such a thing as a holy grail or a smoking gun to your health, it is this. And I find myself wanting to say, this is the most important session, or I'm really excited about this session. I'm really excited about every session. I hope you are too. And I don't know how to say if this is the most important session because they all work together, but I can tell you this, that gut health is the key to your health. If you don't have good gut health, it's virtually impossible to be healthy for very long. If you do have good gut health, it's possible to be sick because there could be genetic influences and other things that are outside your control, but it is necessary to be healthy, to have good gut health. Things that will impair your gut health will ultimately impair your health. Things that you do to improve your gut health will help you. Every question that is asked of us at EPT nutritionally, the ultimate answer is, how does it affect gut health? If you say, are artificial sweeteners worse than sugar? The answer is yes, way worse. And we're going to look at many reasons worse, but ultimately because they're more damaging to the gut. And you'll soon see why. I believe that your thought process on gut health will be expanded. We live in a day and age because of the internet, everybody's heard about it, everybody knows it's important, but let's just find out how important. So we're talking about what's going on within your stomach, your small intestine, and your colon. And I'm going to break this up. This module, we're going to look at digestion, how your digestive system works, and then we're going to look at the microbiota. Micro means small, and bio means life. Like biology is the study of biology. Well, the small life that exists in your gut, that's what we're going to look at in the second module. So, welcome to kind of like a little biology course on digestion. And it's a little bit difficult to make this not seem like biology, a little bit, because it is. But it's really important for you to understand how your digestive system works so you can understand gut health, because it is the key. All right, so just to give you a perspective, here's this woman's belly button. So your stomach is above your belly button here. My small intestine's about here, and then your colon is lower. So a lot of times people go like this, oh, I have a stomach ache. No, that's your colon. Your stomach's up here. So that just gives you an idea. Now, there is a saying I'm sure you have heard. You are what you eat. You are what you eat, digest, absorb, and assimilate. You all had a piece of corn in the cob, only to find out the next day a lot of it ended up in the toilet. You thought, how did I eat that corn on the cob and now it's in the toilet? Obviously, a lot of that didn't get digested, absorbed, and assimilated. You all had spinach, and the next morning, some of it's in your toilet. Obviously, it didn't get digested, absorbed, and assimilated. It doesn't matter what you put into your body if it doesn't get to the cell. It doesn't matter what kind of gasoline you put in your car. If there's a fuel leak and it doesn't get to the engine, it's not going to be very helpful. You ultimately are going to be what you eat, what your body will digest, what is then absorbed into the blood system, and then from there, what is assimilated into cells. Any dysfunction, any breakdown in that process is going to impair your health, and anything that you do to improve your digestion, absorption, assimilation is going to help a lot. So the starting point is what you put in your mouth. If you put in crap, you got no hope. But just because you put in good stuff doesn't mean it's getting to your cells. There's no shortage of clients saying, I took probiotics, they don't help. I did this, it didn't help. I took protein powder, it didn't help. I did X, Y, and Z, and it didn't help. That's because just assuming that it went into your mouth does not mean in any way that it actually got into your cells, and if it doesn't get into your cells, then it doesn't matter. So we're going to have to understand and deal with the whole process. So first take-home message, you are not what you eat. A lot of that can just end up in the toilet. You're what you eat, digest, absorbed into your blood system, and then the process of receptor sites on your cell getting it into the cell. If it doesn't get into the cell, you just wasted that ribeye steak or supplements or whatever you ate. So I'm going to take you on a practical course of how digestion works. And you're going to see some practical things as we go through this. So digestion is described from mouth to anus. I mean, it starts in your mouth, finishes in your anus. Any dysfunction or problem along the way is going to cause problems that then show up in symptoms that you have. But you can be certain, whatever symptoms you describe, I've got general malaise, headaches, fatigue, pain, whatever, notwithstanding injury. Obviously, if I fall and break my leg, that's not part of the digestive process. But not relating to accidents, those kind of symptoms are all somehow tied back to the digestive process and the gut. Remember how we started with that journal article from JAMA? Nutrition affects every cellular process, which means every physiological function is improved by proper nutrition, but only if it gets to the cell. So digestion is from mouth to anus, so here we go. The starting point of digestion is called mastication. It's the chewing of food. And this is an important part of the digestion, ones where many of us fail, me included. This is the weak link in my health. Mastication, you're supposed to chew your food up, not wolf it down like a snake, where you just calm it down. And the first part of digestion is really significant here. It comes down to this. What do you think is easier for your body to digest? A ball this size or one this size? Obviously, the smaller the particle, the easier you will be able to digest it. So mastication is when you chew the food and you break it up into smaller particles. The smaller the particle, the easier it is for your body to digest. Your saliva also has enzymes that begin to break down carbohydrates. So when you chew your food, you break big particles into smaller particles and you're already ahead of the game. If you're a snake, wolf it down, now your body's got to digest a bowling ball rather than a ping pong. The longer you chew, the more enzymes you have for digesting carbohydrates as well. Now here's where we talk about sound, where we talk about it has to be pragmatic, where we take academia and make it practical. In school, when I take courses, the proper time for mastication is, when you take a test, is 20 seconds. Could you imagine 1 1,000, 2 1,000? I'm at 6. Could you imagine going to 20? Nobody's going to do that. Somebody asks you a question, hold up, I got to chew for. So it's not realistic. Technically, is that best? Sure. Here's probably what's realistic. 3 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds chewing your food. Just to even chew a little bit longer versus like that. So if you're a snake, and you tend to just scarf down your food, the first part is to start thinking about chewing your food more slowly. You get the jump on the carbohydrate digestion, and this is like the most overlooked, but probably one of the most important. Digesting a ping pong ball is a lot easier than a bowling ball. So the next thing is the food goes down your esophagus. Your esophagus plays no role in digestion. It's just the tube that connects your throat down into your stomach. So it's part of the digestive system, but it doesn't do anything. It then goes into your stomach, which is above your belly button, which is a container for beginning the digestive process. And in your stomach, there's more mechanical churning. Believe it or not, the food is kind of like churning around. And you know what I'm talking about because when you get nauseous, you say, my stomach is churning. And it starts churning too much. And if you want to know what the content of what's going on in your stomach, you know what it is. When you barf, that's what's going on in your stomach. And you still have big particles of food and stuff there. So the digestive process has started, but it's not really refined. So in your stomach, you have churning to break the ping pong ball now down smaller. You have acid, hydrochloric acid, which has a very high pH, is as strong as battery acid, that begins to digest your food. And there's some enzymes in there to break down proteins. So if you chew well, you broke it down to smaller parts, you got some carb digestion, it goes into your stomach, where you get overall digestion from the churning, continuing to break into smaller pieces, the acid digests it more, and you get some protein help there. The contents of your stomach is called chyme. You know what chyme is. When you barf, that's what chyme is. So that's what's in your stomach. Obviously not very absorbable into your body yet. From your stomach, it's going to go into your small intestine. And your small intestine has different names, and the upper portion is called your duodenum. You don't have to remember that unless you're like a geek and you want to know all the terms, but what you do want to remember is when it goes from your stomach to the small intestine, this part is really important. What takes place here is super important because your pancreas has enzymes that digest proteins, fats, and carbs, and once the chyme goes from your stomach into your duodenum, your pancreas sends those enzymes over and they start digesting it. That's where the vast majority of digestion takes place. Your liver also makes bile and it sends it down to the gallbladder through the common bile duct. You don't have to remember that. And then the bile goes over into your stomach and it digests fats. In fact, the symptoms of gallbladder disease are when you eat fatty foods, you get gas, cramps, bloating, because you don't have the ability to digest fats. And if you've had your gallbladder removed, we always recommend a fat digestive enzyme because you've lost some of your fat digestion. So at this point, you had some carb digestion up there, some protein overall digestion, and then you're getting enzymes to digest proteins, fat, carbohydrates. And then as it moves through your small intestine, which is typically 22 feet, that is where most of your nutrient absorption takes place. From your small intestine, it then goes into your colon, your large intestine, which is about a 6-foot tube, and it's a lot bigger, and it slows down, and nutrients are absorbed there, but mostly water. That's where your water gets absorbed. When the process, which is called peristalsis, the process of food going from your mouth all the way out into your poop, it has a normal pace and cadence. When it's too quickly, it's called diarrhea. And the reason is it's moved too quickly through the large bowel, through the colon, for the water to be absorbed. So it's liquidy or diarrhea. The opposite, when the stuff is camping out and parking out and moving too slowly, the stool is parked out in the colon and too much water gets absorbed and you say, I'm constipated. Both of those are really bad beyond the obvious reasons of being constipated or having loose bowels. And we're going to see why they're bad, because one, stuff is moving too quickly to absorb nutrients, and the other one, it's sitting there too long and toxins start getting absorbed into your body through gut dysbiosis and leaky gut, which we're going to talk about. From your large intestine, it moves into your rectum. Your rectum is an 8-inch chamber, and it has nerves that when content goes in there, the nerves tell your brain, hey, you got to go poop. And you'll get that impulse for about 20 minutes. And if you don't go poop, if you can't go because of the circumstances or you ignore it, the urge will go away. But it's going to come back in about an hour. If you ignore it again, you'll get a third round. It'll come back an hour. And by about the fourth time, you're going to have to go. Eventually, you got to go. There's no problem with occasionally not being able to have a bowel movement when your body tells you to. But if you chronically do that, lots of problems. Because your brain soon gets the idea hey, I tell you got to go poop, and you don't do it. So it's not that important. And that signal becomes weaker and weaker, and your body becomes less responsive. The reason why you hear older people always talking about their bowels, and the running joke is, "Hey, Mabel, did you have your movement today? I'm not regular." The reason they're talking about that is because older people have all sorts of bowel issues for all sorts of reasons. And one of them is they've lost the ability to actually begin to have a bowel movement. And you hear them talking about all sorts of stuff that's very unpleasant to evacuate. So if occasionally you have to go poop and you don't go, that's not at the end of the world. But if that's a consistent pattern, that urge will get less and less, and you will be headed for disastrous bowel issues, amongst other reasons. And then finally, once it's in your rectum, and you say, yeah, okay, I got to go poop, now I'm going to go, it moves into your anus. And your anus has highly specialized nerve endings, and they can differentiate between gas, solid, and liquid. And that's why you go, uh-oh, I got to fart, and I got to squeeze my butt together because people are around, or uh-oh, I got diarrhea, I better get running, or this is going to be a normal bowel movement, because it has highly sensitive nerve endings that allow you to differentiate between solid, gas, and liquid. So food, it's not what you eat, it's what you digest, absorb, and assimilate. So we're just talking about the digestion process. Starts in your mouth, chew your food slowly. It sounds so simple, but this is one of the most important things. It's one that I personally struggle with. I tend to be the snake and wolf down my food. I have to consciously slow down, because if you're not chewing food and big particles are coming down, it's very difficult and taxing to your system. So chew your food, add a second or two to it. And if you could chew your food for 3 or 5 seconds, and kind of get an idea what big help. Some carbohydrates are digested because of the enzymes in your mouth and your saliva, goes down into your esophagus, into your stomach. There's more breaking down because of the mechanical churning. There's acid in there, which begins to digest the food, a couple extra enzymes for proteins. From there, it moves into your portion of your small intestine called the duodenum. Major digestion here. The pancreas sends over enzymes for fats, carbs, proteins. The liver sends over bile for more fat, because fat are more complex and require more digestion. From there, nutrients are absorbed. It goes into your colon, your large intestine, where mostly liquid is absorbed, goes into your rectum, and then out your butt as you have a bowel movement. So that's the physiology of digestion, and we're going to refer back to this as we start talking about gut microbiota and other things, and you're going to see when we start talking about the permeability of the gut, its ability to keep things in the body or not in the body properly, are going to get tied into this. So here's the summary for digestion. Digestion starts in the mouth, chew slowly. Stomach acids and proteins there help to digest further. The small intestine digests proteins, carbs, and fats. Most of the nutrient absorption takes place there. Most of the battle is going on there. Large intestine, there's nutrient absorption, but a lot water. The signal for a bowel movement is about 20 minutes. The urge will then go away. It'll come back about an hour later. Don't resist it if you have the opportunity to go. When you come in for a fitness evaluation, we actually ask you about your bowel movements. Some people get it. Some people feel a little bit awkward or weird. It's not just how often you go to the bathroom, although that's a big part of it. We then hand you this thing called the Bristol stool chart. And we say, what do your stools, what do your poops normally look like? This is very diagnostic of what they look like, because that gives us an idea of whether things are moving through quickly, too slowly, right on time, the shape, all that kind of stuff gives us actually a lot of information about your gut health. You are not what you eat. You are what you eat, digest, absorb, and assimilate. And if it doesn't get to your cells, then it doesn't matter. You have to stay with me through this series, because we got to get it into your cells. If you don't get it into the end zone, it doesn't matter that you got tackled, you ran 98 yards and got tackled on the 2-yard line. You get no points. You get no points for proper digestion, proper absorption. If it's not assimilated into your cell, no touchdown. So we got to get it from going into your mouth, the good stuff. Then we got to work on your digestive system. Then it's got to get absorbed properly, and then we got to get it into your cells. And I got good news for you, because I'm just the guy to help you do it. Stay with me. Any dysfunction in this process is going to lead to impaired health, And anything you do that improves it is going to lead to improved health. So since you're investing time, energy, and money into your wellness, I'm going to help you get from here into the cells. And in the next session in our module 4 of the gut health, we're going to actually begin to look at the gut microbiota. I'm sure it's words that you've heard about, but I'm going to make it come alive for you and hopefully really improve your thought process of how crucial that is, because gut health ultimately is, in the end, the key to your health.